How are you, Zimbabwe? Let us lead. Young people in Zimbabwe, let us take over and lead. What am I saying? I said in the previous video that I'll make a video, the next one, concerning my political future and what I believe we must be doing right now to make sure that we take over power and we lead Zimbabwe to prosperity. My name is Ngobane Zonda and I'm running to be the president of Zimbabwe. My face is not there when the ballot box is going to be held on 23 August 2023 because they are null and void to me because they charge us 20,000 US dollars, which we don't have, meaning that they are actually removing us out of the election process when it's supposed to be inclusive. The fact that it is removing us. Number two, the ZANU-PF passed a law a long time ago that to be president of the country must be 40 years and above. It was also another law passed to exclude us. Number three, they passed a law that we cannot speak to foreigners concerning Zimbabwe, meaning that they are excluding us. They are taking away our opportunity of engaging with the world to help us build a better Zimbabwe so that they can keep on oppressing us. So on these 3 points, I stand as saying that when we as the youth of Zimbabwe have a political movement going forward and doing what it is that we want to do in our country, is because number one, we are denied the political voice internationally. Number two, we are denied internally participation in elections by ZEC charging exorbitant prices that they know that we as the youthful political parties cannot afford. Number three, with having a law that says that people must be 40 years and above to run the country, meaning that it is these madaras that just want to steal political power through manipulating the law and the constitution. So the constitution has been manipulated and has been dated by ZANU-PF regime to keep us from taking over power. So therefore, those 3 things that are in the constitution or law which prevent us from taking over power, my point is that the law itself has been tampered with by 18 Nangaku. So following the law of saying, I am under 40 years, so I cannot run for president, or I don't have 20,000, I cannot run for president, or I'm not allowed to speak to foreigners, so I cannot speak to anyone because the only people that have got money in Zimbabwe are ZANU-PF, and anyone outside the country cannot. You see what I'm talking about? So it means that by following the law itself, it means that we are going to carry on suffering as the youth, as the suffering majority of Zimbabwe. So the only way to get forward is to declare these laws null and void. The law that I have to be 40 years to be president, the law that I need 20,000 to participate in elections. In fact, that makes me declare the elections null and void. The elections are for the elite who are choosing their elite leaders for their own elite purposes. For that reasons, us who are not in the elite are not going to be part of those elections, and those elections serve the interest of the elites, and they will have results for the elite, and then we, the young people, will do whatever we want to do, whichever way we want to do it. And that law that they put that says that we must not talk to foreigners, that is just got everything to do with them, it's got nothing to do with us. And that law that says that we must be 40 years and above to lead the nation, and it's also in an illegal law. So I challenge the court. I challenge the constitutionality of those 3 laws. Those 3 laws are illegal. Okay, they are unconstitutional. All right. If you're over 18 years, you are a Zimbabwean. You have got the right to have a say, a democratic right in your country. If you can vote, why can't you lead? And why must it start at 40 that you must be president? Why not 70? Why not 18? Why not 25? It's because the ZANU-PF regime did it deliberately to exclude some of us who are in the 30s who do believe that we should take the country forward. So I'm challenging those three positions of our government and our constitution. I'm saying they're unconstitutional, and because they're unconstitutional, they should be done away with so that we can have a youthful leader who didn't have 20,000 to take part in these shameful elections, and who's going to engage with the world in order to build Zimbabwe and bring Zimbabwe forward. I am going to engage with the world to bring Zimbabwe forward. I am not going to participate in these illegal and unjustified exorbitant elections, and I am challenging the constitution that say I must be 40 years to lead. I'm not 40 years, I'm 37, and I want to lead now, not 3 years from now, because we cannot afford to be suffering for the next 3 years for waiting for Mnangagwa to change the law and say, the new law is you must be 45. And then after 5 years, they say the new law is you must be 55. No, you see what I'm talking about? So we will have to take power, and we have to take power smart. Now, here's what I'm going to tell you. Saying, therefore, that I have been in the mountain just like Moses, all right, speaking spiritual things and godly things. Nobody believes, nobody's listening. Now, Moses did not stay in the mountain forever. He came down, to the people. I've realized there is a coming down that needs to be done. We have been talking a lot in this channel about the spiritual things. I now need to bring down the messaging to the people. What do the people want? I know what you want. People want money. Okay? This is what we do. This channel is a political movement. Just for those of you who didn't know. It's a political movement. Backed by the power and glory of the Spirit of God. That's the difference. Team Mnangagwa is also a political movement. Backed by the power of Mbuya Nehanda. So now it's going to be Mbuya Nehanda versus the Holy Spirit. But now, here's the thing. We don't eat the Holy Spirit. We eat food. Okay? Here's the thing. Because we want money in Zimbabwe. What is the fundamental reason why we want to remove ED from power? What is the fundamental reason? It's because ED and his chronic capitalism, they are blocking the rest of us from accessing opportunities to succeed. Okay. Originally, I don't want to be president of Zimbabwe. Originally. But owing to the fact that all our trials and tribulations and failures going around the world is because of the political problem at home. We cannot launch our startups in Zimbabwe, succeed in Zimbabwe. ZANU-PF will come to Notora, they just take away from you. And our government, instead of taking money, tax money, and all sorts of government revenue, in creating an environment that is conducive for us to succeed, that is improving the education systems, that improves education outcomes, improving our health system, improving the infrastructure, building capacity in infrastructure so that the environment can be ripe for investment, both local and foreign investment, so that when we as Zimbabweans start our businesses and our startups, we can get investment from within, support from government, support from outside, and grow in the local market, and also even create multinationals. That is not possible under the current regime, because the regime of Mnangagwa collects revenue for the purposes of stealing the public purse via many nefarious ways that they have created, including their use of government subsidies. Government subsidies in maize, which are very much abused, and money that is stolen across all ministries. All that money, that's the reason why the roads are a mess. Because our governing elite, okay, our political elite, not just the financial elite, but the political elite, that there's a phenomenon I have noticed in Zimbabwe. In the United States, the political elite are in cohorts with the business elite to prop up the interests of special interests against the interests of everybody else. In Zimbabwe, the political class themselves, the ones in power and the ones holding government positions, have their own interests, and therefore their governance system is one of extraction from the public purse. All of them, most of our people that are in charge of our public purse are involved in extraction of the public wealth one way or the other, such to the extent that the one who's on top cannot reprimand the ones below because they are all in it together. It's a whole pyramid scheme and we are all being robbed. So therefore, these people make it impossible for us as the general population in Zimbabwe to drive an economy that is successful, to be involved in projects that can be groundbreaking. Do you understand what I'm talking about? So for that reason, we need to change our government, or the government must change. But how do you change a government? International law speaks of democracy, but the democratic process is through election that give people the opportunity to choose their leader have been monetized heavily. So with this advert of charging $20,000 for a presidential candidate, it essentially uh, defeats the purpose of democracy, because we, the people, are supposed to be part of this process. By charging these exorbitant prices, our government is telling us that it's only the elite that are going to participate. I was not surprised when Nelson Chamisa did not complain about this, because he's part of, I've always said that Nelson Chamisa is part of the eating elite. Okay, they're eating with him. Both Triple C and ZNPF, they're eating together. So he didn't complain. Did you hear Nelson Chamisa complaining about 20,000? No, he didn't. He was happy because it limits the real voices like me, people who really want a change, people who really make a change, not pretend to be a change, calling yourself a change agenda candidate when you are actually aiding the mafia to stay in power. Shame on you. Nelson Chamisa, and Iti Mnangagwa, shame on both of you in your shameful elections. We, the youth, are not going to be participating in them because we don't afford, and therefore we declare them null and void. We can do what we do, we're going to do whatever it is that we're going to do to take us forward. Therefore, let us be smart and be clever like snakes. This is what we're going to do. Because as I said as I was starting, that this is actually a financial war. It's a financial war. Okay, what we want is opportunities. All right. If ED had to do the right thing, there's no need for us to want him to be out of power. No, but it's because they are stealing the public purse. That public purse is supposed to build infrastructure to make the living conditions of Zimbabweans better for everyone, not just entrepreneurs, but also our students in schools, also to look after our health and to provide that social net for our older citizens and the orphans and the disadvantaged and the less privileged and the like. So that kind of a governance system that makes a country is what we don't have in Zimbabwe. That is why we are stuck in all of these countries, because in our own country, there's no capacity to build, even though there's got potential, but Mnangagwa and his cronies, they've killed that potential. And what I accuse Nelson Chamisa, that he's not a true revolutionist. He's a guy who is arresting our revolution. Nelson Chamisa's ass is sitting on top of our revolution. He's our revolution on a chair, and he sits on our revolution. Nelson Chamisa, and he does nothing. He was saying, Chete, Mkomana ngapinda. Mkomana doesn't want to pinda. Mkomana wants to eat gold mafia money, pretending to be in opposition. We're going to go through elections. They're going to rig it. You will win. Chamisa will complain for 2 or 3 weeks, and then they go to court. The court gives power to Iti Mnangagwa. Chamisa sit down and say, signal, and start talking about 2028. You know the story. That is the game plan. Then he keeps on eating. Have you seen his cheeks? He's big like this. Mfana arikudya. Chele apinda kudhara kuti mkomana ngaapinde. It's just you Zimbabweans being lied to. Mkomana apinda kudhara. He's eating the man. So he's not a true revolutionist. He's actually has arrested our revolution by arresting the Hopi, or I call it hopium. He's selling from the word opium. Chamisa is selling to the Zimbabweans hopium. It's actually a drug that gives you hope, making you believe that things are going to change, but they will not change. The only opposition leader that we had in Zimbabwe was Morgan Tsvangirai, and I always say that Tsvangirai died with the revolution, Nelson Chamisa is a ZANU-PF stooge, and he has taken over he has taken our dreams and put them in jail. And there's no signal that is coming. My name is Ngobane Zonde. I'm going to lead a true revolution in Zimbabwe. I don't want drug money. I do not want gold mafia money. What I want is a Zimbabwe that is going to be free, and I will not arrest that revolution. And as I'm telling you that this revolution goes forward with or without Nelson Chamisa of Itim Nanga, we're going to be forced to record with after the election. After let us watch them do their charades. Let us watch them do their charades and whatever it is that they are doing. That scripted drama that they are fooling the Zimbabweans, as if like we are not educated enough to see what is really going on. After they are done, ED will be in power. Is going to celebrate after all the pretense that they are removing him, but they are not going to remove him. And then God said he is going to come. Don't ask me what does that mean. I'm not God. He told me that after that, God will come. And when God comes, the youth are going to be free. So youth of Zimbabwe, be ready. And the rest of you Zimbabweans, be ready for God after the elections. Because that is when things are going to start happening. The Lord himself is going to deliver us from the hand of Satan. Holy is the Lord. Don't play. Now, I didn't finish. I didn't talk about my plan of financialization. Here's the thing. Political movements, right, are created to change the financial conditions and living conditions of the people. So here's the thing. Here's the plan that I have. We now need our revolution to be very smart. Not just going in the street making noise. I didn't ask anyone to go to the street and make noise. No. They're just going to send soldiers and police to beat you up. And then life goes on. Take people in jail. That's not how we're going to play this time around. This time around, we're going to be smart. You know what I'm saying? If you youth of Zimbabwe follow me, the thing is, you people don't believe me. You really underestimate my ability to lead and strategize. If you listen to me, youth of Zimbabwe, I'm telling you, I will lead you to better places than this Chinese of yours. Like I know signal. There's no signal. Can't you see? There's no signal coming. There's nothing. Okay, what is coming is just him is eating money with eating. We're going to be smart. We are not going to challenge them in court right now. Someone else is going to do it, not us. We're going to be watching silently as the elections come. Those of you who vote for ZANU, vote for ZANU. Those who vote for you who vote for Triple C, vote for Triple C. Yeah, we are watching. And then I will tell you my strategy. Keep watching these videos. You will know what my strategy is. I'll be speaking about it. It doesn't involve going to the streets. It doesn't even involve the revolting against the government or upsetting them. And the plan that I have, it does not need them to bring the soldiers or the police because there will be nobody in the streets. Okay. And there will be nobody defying the government. But we will be making a real revolution. Stick around. I'll teach you how it's done. All is God.